Podcast Studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now!
Hello, friends. And by the way, Hey Now is going to be brought up again later, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
I'm looking forward to that segment, Kat. We have a lot to do today on this episode of After 9, and our friends here that have downloaded, and thank you for doing that, by the way. We know you're busy, so we'll jump right to it. We've got a lot of stuff that has to do with Ontario today, Kat. And the first thing I want to start off with is a news conference that the Premier did. It was exactly 24 hours ago. The Premier was doing a news conference as we were doing After 9. We got to call them and see if they can do the news conferences either before or after the pod because it's very inconvenient. I had said yesterday that the Premier was making a mistake by writing off the possibility of buying back the 407 and doubling down on this tunnel. As it turns out, the Premier says all options are on the table when it comes to the 407.
Without details still, right? Or did he give more details on what that looks like?
Tell you what, we'll get to that coming up.
All right.
First off, Niagara Falls came up with the Premier yesterday, and I like it. Listen to this question.
Hey, everybody, and hey, Premier. It's Charlie Pinkerton of the Trillium.
Hi, Charlie.
How you doing? I hope you had a good time at the plowing match.
Yeah, I didn't see you. I was trying to throw you in front of the plow when I was plowing, but it's never happened.
Hang on a second. Hang on. Only at an Ontario news conference could a Premier joke about wanting to kill somebody, and everyone goes, unless he meant pull the thing. Is that what he meant? Did he mean like pull? Did he didn't mean
he wanted to run him over and grind him into pieces.
That's what I got, but I'm like, I wasn't sure of the full context, so I thought maybe I'm missing something. So he's like, I want to do fucking murder you. Anyway, go ahead, ask the question. I want to kill you, but go ahead.
The way some of those reporters go after him, it wouldn't even surprise me if he said, you know what, fuck you, get in front of this
This
plow.
is why I couldn't be in politics, because I would say that. I'd be the person to say that. That's why, and nobody would, well, maybe people would vote for me if I was more honest than they are. But anyway.
Oh, it must be my haircut.
Well, last year it was Colin, so you got a sacrifice too.
Yeah, all is fair, you know. Premier, various records of meetings that you've had scheduled, that your top staff have had scheduled, have been with officials from the OLG, as well as representatives from the company that runs the casinos in Niagara Falls. It's my understanding that your government is trying to change the deal of how these are run, so I'm just hoping you explain what it's trying to do with the Niagara Falls casinos.
So Mohegans from the U.S., good operators and everything, but they've had a monopoly down there, and there's a tremendous opportunity with 11 million tourists coming down to Niagara. I've been working with the region along with Mayor Diodati, and just coming up with a different way. It's not all about gambling. It's about a destination. It's about bringing families there. It's an incredible tourist attraction, but we have to clean it up and make it more modern. As I've mentioned to the mayor, you know, the first kilometer, it's all beautiful, but when you get further in, it's not very appealing.
No, it's not. He's right.
This is the thing, and there's a lot of truth to that. At least he's a truth teller, because it isn't all perfect.
And by the way, love him or hate him, and I know that there's people who do both that are listening to this pod. Love him or hate him, that's a politician who got asked a direct question and gave a direct, honest answer. We never get that out of Ottawa. So thank you, Premier Ford, for doing news conferences.
And although it might not happen overnight to become like a Vegas type, as somebody who, well, I go to Vegas and I go to Niagara Falls quite a bit.
You like casinos, though.
It's not even necessarily about the casino. It's about the atmosphere. It's shows as well.
The vibe.
The vibe for me, well, for Vegas especially, you could just sit there and people watch, and it's great. Niagara Falls isn't quite the same. It's not quite up to par as Vegas. We all know this, and there's different rules and regs that are the reason for that, maybe. But it is a family-friendly destination currently, so they'd really have to switch things up. The only way I could find Niagara Falls becoming a Vegas is if you really did divvy it up, where it was Clifton Hills remained family-friendly with all the attractions and the fun houses, but God, can we please update some of them? Anyway, with the Rainforest Cafe and the arcades, and there's some newer ones there, by the way. They're all lovely. I don't know if you guys have been in the last few years, but there's some newer rides. There's like a zombie 4D ride. My kids love it. It's brand new, so it's great. There's a bunch of new stuff anyway, right? The wheel's still popular, and all that stuff can be family-friendly. I'm thinking more like the Fallsview area. Could that become the adult-only zone?
I don't know if we need an adult-only zone. I think that it's really going to come down to good planning, first and foremost. And Mayor Diodati is a good mayor in Niagara Falls. Nearest I can tell, he's done the best he can. And they've managed to keep it at, during the day, it's great. You can go down there with your families. A little pricey, a little hard to find parking, but it's nice. At night, it hasn't really evolved into Vegas the way I think they thought it was going to. And that's not on them. They're bringing in great shows to OLG Stage.
They are.
If you've never been to OLG Stage, it is a fabulous place to watch a show. But if there's no show and they set real high table limits, I don't know how many people are really going to go and make that the Vegas of the North that I think Doug and a lot of people are hoping for. It has a lot of potential, but there's only 2 casinos, no free booze. Can't do that in Ontario for some reason.
Nor can you drink while you're walking down the street.
And you can't do that. Yet if you go across the bridge to Buffalo, you get free drinks at the Seneca Niagara Casino. Like, Buffalo's doing it the way Vegas does it, and we're not. So I think until something changes there, it's probably not going to work. Great idea, but they've got to do more. And getting a couple other operators in there, so there is some casino competition. I think that's great. Right now, this Mohegan company can say, yeah, you know what? $50 table limit. Okay. Well, it's not like I can go to the other casino down the street. They're the ones who set the limit.
Right.
And then you're kind of screwed if you don't want to drop $50 on one hand.
That's true. And there's so much they could do there for sure. The other 2 quick things I'll say on this is, yes, they definitely need to up their poker game too, is another thing I heard. The last time I was on a flight to Vegas, I was sitting beside a guy who was there just for the weekend, literally for overnight, one night for a poker tournament. Because as he put it, that was all my wife would let me do. But the stakes are the stakes are higher and everything else in Vegas is just like bigger, so it draws a bigger crowd. Would Niagara Falls be able to draw bigger crowds if they had those kind of things in place? I don't know, and I don't know what it takes to even do that. I'm not as big on the gambling and table games. And also, someone else pointed out today on our show, it's going to be the weather that deters people. It's not like Vegas where you can go in February and it's comfortable. You know, it's not the same thing. So unless you're going to the club or the casino only, it doesn't have that same allure as the Vegas Strip does, where you can literally hang outside all day, all night. I mean, it's really freaking hot there at some points in the year. However, you know, it's a little different.
You mentioned clubs, and clubs are a huge attraction. I mean, for bachelorette parties, for just general going out, something to do after midnight.
Yeah.
They're huge in Vegas, and there's a reason that they've got a residency in every single casino, from Tiesto to Steve Aoki to Loud Luxury to you name it, they're playing in Vegas. We don't really have a club destination in Niagara Falls, except for the regular run-of-the-mill shitty ones that have always been there.
They've been there for a long time, too.
They're as old as the carpet in the funhouse.
If they're even still operating. I think some of them are, like Dragonfly and all that stuff. Is that what you're thinking?
I haven't been there in a long time. I don't know what goes on there.
I was there several times for bachelorette parties, but this was like 10 plus years ago, so it's been a long time.
So we want to work with them, work with the Mohegans, and come up with an agreement that's going to be fair to everyone, the region, the province, and their organization as well.
And so how many casinos do you want to see in Niagara Falls? And is this just about allowing more competition? And, you know, why is this something your government's trying to do right now?
Well, it's really something that the mayor has been promoting down there for a number of years, and the operators down there as well. I think it's time to modernize. You know, it's beautiful when you go down there. I've been down there endless times. But we just want to modernize it and clean it up and give more opportunities, more economic development, increase tourism. There's a whole market south of the border that would love to have them come up and spend a weekend, spend a week. So
if you're an American, I get that you don't get free booze at the Canadian casinos, but I don't know why you wouldn't gamble here when you automatically are ahead 30 cents on every dollar. Even with the shitty exchange that we give you. We screw you, by the way, when we take your American money. Nonetheless, it's just such a much more affordable night out. A hotel room in Canada is substantially cheaper than one in Buffalo just because of the power of the American dollar. I don't know why they don't appeal more to Americans and try and move in that direction. It just makes sense.
I think there are a fair amount of Americans that do come now, even for family trips, and spend several days, which the hotels, though, are not cheap, in general.
A lot of them are full of refugees, so that's part of the problem, too.
Oh, is that still happening?
That's still happening.
Okay.
You just announced today increasing speed limits on 400 series highways.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's many drivers listening to our station right now wondering about details. Can you
can almost see Doug Ford's eyes roll when Richard Southern asks him a question.
Yeah.
specify which highways, which stretches you're looking at, and why you're doing this?
Well, I'll answer, then I'll pass it over to my minister. You know, you look at the 400 series highways, we've increased it in quite a few parts of the province. We want to finish it off at about 110 kilometers. Everyone is going about a buck 10, a buck 20 when you're driving down the street, and God forbid you're going the speed limit, be it 100. People are leaning on their horns, trying to get in front of you. But in saying that, I want to emphasize one thing. When I've directed the minister to look at the 400 series highways, I emphasized to him that where it is safe to do. And the experts, our Ministry of Transportation, OPP, they understand where you can go 110 and where you can go 100 kilometers. So safety comes first over anything, and then we'll work on the rest. But wouldn't it be great if we could even get over 50 kilometers an hour on the 401 in rush hour through the city?
Yeah, it would be great.
Like that would be that'd be incredible if we could get over that. So anyways, over to you, Minister.
Okay, we'll end it there. For those who don't know, Doug says we're going to raise the speed limit on all 400 series highways from 100 to 110 where it is safe to do so. I have been hearing calls for this for 20 years. Thank God somebody's actually moving on it.
And he's absolutely right, though. I mean, that's going to be absolutely beneficial. I think it's going to... I don't know how many people were being pulled over for doing like 110 to begin with.
Right.
I don't think there was very many unless you were distracted or there were other reasons why they wanted to pull you over. However, if you're a safe driver, I think we all know if everyone's doing 110, we can do 110 and be perfectly safe. And to his point, some of the stretches where this may be available, you've never done 110 because it's so freaking busy that you can't go over that 60 he mentioned. And it's so true. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I haven't seen a lot of uproar about it. I think the people who are going to complain are probably people who don't use the highway often. It's going to be those Sunday drivers. Do you know what I'm saying?
It'll be a little bit of that. I also imagine we all know that there's some people who just oppose change and some people who just oppose anything that comes from this government. So I believe there's going to be opposition to this, and I don't know exactly what the excuse will be because all of the experts agree that these highways that we have here were built for cars to go at least 110. It's not an unsafe highway. We've got divided roads with medians and shoulders and the whole 9 yards. 110 is the safe spot. If we're going to let the Ministry of Transportation, in consultation with the OPP and local police, say this area not safe to do 110, but all the rest of it is, then let's get the experts to make this decision. The problem remains here. There's going to be people, and the same people who said that legalizing cannabis was going to just create a drug state, and the same people that said booze in the convenience stores was going to be a catastrophe. None of those things ever came to fruition, and I don't think this will be a problem either. I think we're adults. 10 kilometers an hour more, we can handle that. Our cars are built for it. Our highways are built for it. It's good. I don't know where in this news conference he talked about the 407. Second day in a row, I can't find that clip. But I will say, apparently the province is also considering now buying back the 407. I think it's the smartest thing they can do. But one question I did see online yesterday from people who were asking, well, how would that work? How can you buy back the 407? What if they don't want to sell? What if they don't want to sell? Screw them. Annex it. Take it. It's ours. It was built with taxpayer money. If they don't want to give it back or sell it back, we're just going to annex it. And it's ours. Kind of like countries annex other parts of countries. This is our province. That's our highway. If you don't want to work a deal, we're taking it back. The problem is it's the teacher's pension that owns half of it, and I don't know how much they're going to want for it. It's a little bit harder when there's a domestic entity in addition to the Spanish conglomerate that owns it.
It's so weird, by the way. Like, the whole thing's just absurd.
I'm sure in 99, I'm trying to remember back to then. I remember a lot of discussion about selling the 407. And I remember that when the ETR company took it over, they made it free for a little while. And I thought,
just to get you used to it.
This is the greatest highway ever. And then I got a bill and I thought, yikes, that's a lot more than they charge in the States.
Yeah.
And then they've just been allowed to freely raise rates nonstop. Every couple of years, they jack up the price to the point where you can travel from where it begins in Burlington to Halton Hills. It's like a 25-kilometer stretch, and it'll cost you like $25. Get the hell out of here. That's crazy.
Crazy.
So hopefully, we make some progress on that. Doug says, by the way, they are still going to build the tunnel under the 401, so that'll leave lots of options. I just don't know how we could afford both of them.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
Blue Jays team president Mark Shapiro says Jays general manager Ross Atkins is going to continue in his current role. How do we get a job where you can be just dog shit awful at it and continue to get rehired and re-signed
For good money.
way more money than the average person makes? The Jays finished dead last in the American League East this season with a 74-88 record, while Shapiro said the season was a disappointment. He also pointed out Atkins has guided Toronto to the playoffs in 3 of the past 5 seasons. Shapiro says he's confident next year will be a much better season. Get the hell out of here.
That's what they all say.
Come on.
Yeah, but we're used to that. You've heard that before.
I know.
You'll
it's
hear
just,
it again next year.
Get out of here.
From multiple teams, not just one.
This is the problem with the people in charge being in charge, is because they're never going to fire themselves. They're never going to fire themselves. It's not like Mark Shapiro looked in the mirror and said, I'm really bad at this job. I should fire myself. He's not going to do that. They're going to keep re-signing each other. It's a great big circle jerk.
It is reminiscent.
It's what it is.
Reminiscent of a bit of a circle jerk. I think that the pressure is there, though, that if the fans really start to react to that, maybe they already are. Maybe the baseball fans have already started to react, or maybe they've just given up and said, ugh, forget it. Can't be bothered. But if there's enough reaction, and this is Canada's team, keep in mind, like, this is Canadians' team. If there is enough reaction, I feel like that's what it'll take. But it might not be till next year.
Want to play something for you, and this was a popular topic today on the Scott and Kat radio show. It's from Selena Gomez. For those who don't know, Selena Gomez is a singer. People that listen to FM radio probably know that. She's also a very famous actress. Only Murders in the Building is her current project, and it's wildly popular. She also has movies coming out.
Which is a Waverly Place, the remake. She's all behind that, too. That's her production company. She started that, and then she's got Rare Beauty, which is a massive beauty brand. That's actually the most of her money made right now is on the Rare Beauty line.
And that's what I was going to say. When it comes to Selena Gomez, you know her from movies and music and TV, and the list goes on, and that's just a piss in the ocean. The income compared to what she makes from her beauty line. That's where all the money is. And she was doing, what is the movie she's doing? She's promoting
Amelia Perez, which actually premiered at TIFF this year.
Oh, amazing. So Selena, doing some promotion for the movie, gets asked about being a billionaire. Listen to this.
You have reached billionaire status with the success of Rare Beauty, and I gotta say, I'm a mad fangirl. Love that mascara, love the blush.
Thank you.
But how does it feel to achieve, look, you have dominated TV, film, you've done it all, but now you're doing it in the beauty business. How does that success feel in this arena?
I'm very grateful. I personally think it's distasteful to talk about money, but I really am giving all the credit to the people who buy the products. They're the ones that made this dream of mine come true. So I'm really, really honored and just happy.
You have reached...
Is it distasteful to ask a celebrity about money? Fair question. And I have mixed feelings on this.
Yeah, I do. I think I do too, because I understand where she's coming from. Selena has many things, and one of the things that she is behind, other than all the other things that we mentioned, is a mental health app called Wondermind that does make actually a substantial amount of her money as well. But the reason why she has that mental health app and why she is an advocate for mental well-being is because she's been through it. She's been through a lot, and she'll tell you all about the struggles that she went through. I feel like that might go hand in hand with why she doesn't want to talk about money, because for her, a lot of the projects that she does, I truly believe she's one of those celebrities, and maybe there's only a handful, but I truly believe she's one of those celebrities that truly does things for the passion. She does things not to make money. She does these things to try to help other people, or in the case of makeup, she just liked makeup, and that was a passion project, and all the other things that she does. So when people associate that with, you're just a money maker, that probably makes her feel a little uncomfy in a way, right? That's what I could probably sense from Selena Gomez. That said, I understand why we talk about it, because we are a part of it. I have a Rare Beauty thing in my bag right now. Like, I am a part of what she has made, right? I watch Only Murders in the Building. I'm a part of that, so we as public definitely feel more attached to that. And maybe it's congratulatory. Maybe we want to be rude about it and say, how do they make that much money? Meh. However it is, we feel more connected to it because it is out there for public consumption. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You and I, you and me and Dave, people that we run into on the streets, we don't have those conversations, though, about money.
Right. Yeah.
But even with our family, our friends, I have no idea how much money some of my friends make unless I just happen to find them on the Sunshine List. So
sure,
if we don't do that with regular people, why is there an expectation that we should know how much celebrities make? And athletes, are the worst for it because when an athlete signs a new contract, first thing they tell us is, here's how much they're getting paid, here's the average annual value, and yada, yada, yada. There's no hiding it. Even with endorsements, sometimes they'll actually leak. Yeah, Nike's paying LeBron James $70 million for the next 3 years to endorse them. You don't hear that about regular people.
No.
You never hear somebody come in and say, hey, I just got a $15,000 a year raise and I'm making $85 now.
Right.
They don't have that conversation unless it's a celebrity or an athlete.
Because I think that it's more tantalizing when it comes to public consumption. When Nike, does a line with Caitlin Clark, we want to know how much money that Caitlin Clark is going to make because that's for public consumption. We go watch her games. We've been watching her. I want to buy those shoes, right? Like, for example. So it's a lot more available to the public where it's like, hey, I'm an engineer and I make $150,000, but I just got a raise and now I'm making $170,000. You don't boast, we don't do that just because it's not like people are involved in certain jobs. Others are, though. I mean, even in broadcasting, for that matter, Howard Stern's on a whole nother level. I think we all know this. But
it's also a publicly traded company.
That's a public, for sure. And that's the difference, too, is a lot of the publicly traded things. You brought up the Sunshine List, which is a great example. I have a friend who's now on the Sunshine List. And even in today's standards, we're going to discuss this, but I think we can all agree we need to bump it from 100 to maybe even 150 at this point.
At least 150.
Because it's really something. They ended up on the Sunshine List recently with a recent salary bump, and well-deserved. But everybody around them knows. So they'll get comments like, even though this is, they could totally write these people up at this point for making comments like, oh, yeah, well, it's easy for you to say because I know how much you make. Oh, it's easy for you to say because you make this much and I don't make it as much as you. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It really is uncomfortable. And personally, I'm uncomfy talking about it, whether it's someone making a comment about how little they make or how much they make.
Right.
Either way, I'd rather mute that topic. Unless, of course, you need help and you're going to a family member or you're trying to help a family member. That's where I think it's safe as long as you both feel comfortable. But I feel uncomfy about the topic in general, to be honest with you, in a personal way.
Right. I don't like the topic either. I don't discuss with anybody how much I make. That's my business and my family's business. And that's just the way that is.
Yeah.
There's never been an expectation that broadcasters have their salaries disclosed, unless it's the exception of a public broadcaster like TVO or the CBC.
Yeah.
I personally think we should all be able to know how much everyone at CBC is making because it's taxpayer money. And this is funded media.
How is that different, by the way, when you have a Sunshine List and then you have teachers who work their ass off that become a vice principal, let's say. And so now they're on the list and it's public knowledge that they make $105,000 a year. Why are the CBC broadcasters, which is also taxpayer money, on there?
Trudeau. It's federal.
That's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm very curious to know how much do they pay those people that do that at issue panel for 5 minutes once a week? How much are Adrienne Arsenault hosting the National? How much is she making total, all in? I'd like to know those things. And the whole point of the Sunshine List in Ontario was for transparency. You'll probably recall the government of the day decided one day, if we're going to pay somebody $100,000 or more to work as a civil servant, the public has a right to know. And I don't know if the public still has a right to know that, but at the absolute minimum, they got to bump the threshold. This Sunshine List is turning into a phone book because there are so many people making $100,000 a year or more.
There are so many names on it, and understandably. Yeah, $100,000 is not the same $100,000 it was 10, 15 years ago.
Right. The $100,000 threshold, it used to be, if you made six figures, you were good. You were rolling in it.
Woo, rich, rich, rich.
You were high-end middle class or low-end rich if you were making $100K.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's the bare minimum you need to make to live a comfortable, healthy lifestyle on your own.
Yeah, I think, and we did get another text on this as well, and I'll keep the name anonymous. We always will when it comes to this kind of thing. But they said it really pisses them off that they're on that list because they made 85 previous to the bump, or at one point, right? And nobody said anything. And they also ended up with more money that way because they get taxed more. That's how it happens too. So it's like, it's not even like it's a gloaty thing anymore because the government takes all your freaking money anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people on the Sunshine List are particularly happy that their salaries are disclosed, and I don't blame them in a way.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how much I make, but I work for a private company, and that's just all there is to it.
It's going to stay private.
With the Ontario government, I'd like to know how much our civil servants are making, but I think that should apply to every civil servant, and it should apply to municipal as well. Do you know how many town commissioners and consultants that the cities and the regions hire, they're making a lot of money in some cases. Some judges are making a fortune. And I think that the public should have a right to know that sort of thing. But the $100,000 threshold, that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You got to bump it up to a minimum $150K because taxpayers might want to know who's getting paid $150K a year and what do they do all day to justify that pay. Okay, we have like 7 minutes and we got to cover two things.
Okay.
T-shirts came up on the Scott and Kat show today, and this is based on a Reddit thread.
Yeah.
Somebody wanted to know if you wore a T-shirt with the phrase you say the most, what would your T-shirt say? We had some fun guessing what each other's T-shirts would be. What did we come up with for yours?
Well,
Yours was
someone texted. I feel bad because someone texted this morning and said, "Happy motherfucking Friday, Kat." And I went, "It's Thursday." And then they're like, "No, for your T-shirt." I'm like, oh, that.
Uh-huh.
So if that was you that texted me, I apologize. I was like, clearly, woohoo. Maybe that. I think for you, I said, because you could easily say, "Hey now," sure, that's a very podcasty thing. Aside from that, I said, "In any case."
In any case, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, you say that often.
That's how I shut a meeting down with Dave, which we have in a few minutes, by the way.
We do.
In any case.
In any case. And then Octavia for me said it should be, it's fine.
It's fine. That is.
I do say that a lot.
Honest to God, guys, the
fine.
studio could be on fire. And Kat would be outraged because whatever wasn't done properly to make it fireproof. And she'd say, it's fine.
But I don't mean it.
No, when you say it's fine, it's not
That's
fine.
when you know, Cat's lit up. Cat's lit up.
When I hear
It's fine.
It's fine, I think, oh shit, I gotta go. This doesn't involve me and I don't want it to.
But a lot of great ones came in.
I got a number of ones about cake. And
Of course you did.
I swear to God, I am so mad at you two for ruining this for me. I shared one of the bakeries that I love the most is called La Casa Dolce.
They're great. They're great. We ordered birthday cakes for my kids there before. They're awesome.
They really are like Canada's cake boss, and they're at Cawthra and Queensway in Mississauga. So every month they do a new flavor of cake, and it's their specialty of the month. Right now they've got a pumpkin spice chocolate chip cake with a cream cheese icing that they sell to you with a slice of pumpkin pie on top. And I thought, wow, that's impressive. If you show up at somebody's house for Thanksgiving dinner and bring one of those cakes, you're going to look like a champion.
Yeah, that's super impressive.
So I shared it. And then every one of you with a dirty little mind starts messaging me about mixing cake and pie. And I know what you two guys are doing with that.
I don't know if they're the ones with the dirty mind. I mean, I can't believe this has been going on for like 10 plus years, by the way.
I know.
I feel like it was like 10 years ago that the cake sitting thing got brought up.
So don't tell me yes or no if you have. But have you considered sitting in a cake?
That's what your shirt should say. Have you considered sitting in a cake?
One time,
oh my God.
we were going through the Uber Eats app, myself and my girlfriend, and I'm like, oh, look at this. You can get cake delivered now. And she's like, fuck off. And walked out of the room. It's bad. Okay, quickly here, because we got to go. Jaguar is her name. This is the girl with all the Diddy the scoop on Diddy and not afraid to spill the tea.
Not afraid. Jaguar Wright, real quick backstory. Many, many years ago, she was found really by The Roots. I think we all know who The Roots are. She worked with and collaborated with many artists back in the day in hip hop. She was very familiar with Diddy and Diddy's parties. She's trying to out Jay-Z. She's trying to out Beyonce and many other people surrounding that whole situation.
She was on Piers Morgan. Here's a little bit of that. This is going to be about a minute to a minute and 20 long.
Everything that I'm about to say to you is not my firsthand knowledge. It is my firsthand witness account experience. I was a sex worker. I was a dominatrix before I got my record deal. That's how I know how the dark world and the sex world and the entertainment world run hand in hand. That's why the movie Blink Twice is so important. Salute to Zoe Kravitz. The sex workers that I have worked with throughout the years and continue to work with even to this day have worn hidden cameras. I have my own tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I've seen what they do. The ritualistic behaviors, the drugging, putting girls in the suitcases, dumping them in alleyways. It's horrifying. And it's all done under the protection of, this is going to be paid off. There's another NDA. This is going to be, it's terrible.
It seems to have been something that a lot of people knew about, but people were simply too scared to talk about.
Everyone knows. And every person that's sitting there trying to act surprised knows very well. The whole point of this, like Cat Williams said when he sat with Shay Shay earlier this year, the whole point of this is for them in a coordinated effort to pretend like none of it is real for the public's perception. But everyone knows what's going on, and it's been going on for years. It's been going on before Diddy. See, people keep looking at him like he's the Sputnik that came out of nowhere. This is someone who was designed to be what he is. We got to stop making Diddies. And if we're going to do that, then we got to go back. We got to go back to even further, the mentors of these people. Because Diddy was taught how to do what he does systematically, and Clive Davis has been his greatest teacher.
Mm-hmm. Clive Davis. She named a name.
She named a name. Yeah. And Clive Davis, if you look back and you look at all the people he worked with, all of those shady names that we've heard, or the question mark names, have worked with Clive Owen.
Clive Davis.
Oh, sorry, Clive Davis. Clive Davis. Clive Owen's a great actor. I apologize.
Holy shit,
I apologize to
Kat.
Clive Owen. Oh my God.
Unreservedly.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to add that to Friday's apologies. Apologize to Clive Owen. I'm so sorry. Clive Davis is the one that's a piece of shit, not Clive Owen. Yeah, Clive Davis surrounded himself with a lot of these names that are being talked about now, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Hey, she does in this interview talk about specifically Sean Carter, Jay-Z.
Yes.
And his wife, who we know is Beyonce.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't say Jay-Z and Beyonce. She says Sean Carter and his wife. And she makes some wild accusations that I'm not going to repeat because I don't have firsthand knowledge of it.
Sure.
However,
if it's in the lawsuits that are filed inevitably, we will discuss it at that point.
100%. If you want to watch more of this Jaguar interview here with Pierce Morgan, just YouTube it. It is on Pierce's channel. What she's saying is pretty wild. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm hearing it every day now. Hollywood is going to crumble. There are so many names that were involved or enabled it or whatever that we may not have an entertainment industry for a while after all these people are exposed. If we were to get rid of all the records from all the artists that are involved, we might not even be able to play music.
It's going to be interesting. And you know what? Good, though. If it's true, if they are guilty parties, so be it. I would rather not play those tracks from those artists. I would rather not.
Let's
start fresh. We already have a lot of great new upcoming artists that hopefully are not tainted in any of this. So let them shine and let's bring in some new ones. Forget the old ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to go, everybody. Have yourself a fantastic day. Tomorrow is the Friday episode, and I ask this every Thursday. Do we know?
I think he's here, Dave.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's going to join us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
I think he says he's going to be in the office, which, you know, we gotta hide him in here though. Like we almost had to do that last time too.
Like when Taylor Swift enters a football stadium, like they'll stick her in a big cooler or something like that and wheel her in so nobody knows it's Taylor Swift. We got to do the same thing with Dave. Otherwise, like 15 people in the creative department.
Can I have a minute?
Sales reps all want to talk to him. And, Dave, I just need a minute of your time. And it's never a minute of your time.
It's never a minute.
And what they don't understand is that we want to go home. So
we know you're still on the clock for hours. Why don't you talk to him after the podcast is done?
He should give us access to his Outlook, and we'll just decline all meetings before 10:30 on a Friday.
He'll forgive us later. It's fine.
Sure he will. Have a great day, everybody. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow with more After 9.
Bye-bye.
There's a rare fish in the Red Sea that looks like a guitar called the Halavi guitarfish. Unfortunately, it only knows Wonderwall, and it's always practicing. Move on to something else.
Authorities in Missouri recently rounded up 5 horses that escaped from a nearby Renaissance festival in case you needed any more proof that horses are cool.
CVS just announced that they are laying off nearly 3,000 workers in an effort to cut costs. Yep, now every CVS pharmacy will just have a pumpkin bucket filled with pills and a sign that says, please take one.
The new study suggests that nearly 1 in 3 U.S. adults may have an iron deficiency. So look to your left. Now look to your right. If that made you dizzy, you may have an iron deficiency.